So I thought I'd do a video of the changes in Jsonrpcserver version 5. So this is the first major version of this library in a few years. It's been completely rebuilt internally, but it's basically the same usage except for a few minor changes which I'll take you through in this video and try to explain a bit about why those changes were made. So I'm going to start by importing some parts of the library here, and then I'll go ahead and write a method. So as in the previous version, you write a method by decorating a function with the method decorator. So what this library does is if you receive a JSON-RPC request through the network, you want to dispatch that request to your own functions that you write. They're called methods in JSON-RPC. And then you want to receive a JSON-RPC response to send back over the network. So let's go ahead and write our method. So we want to write a method here called ping, which returns a result of pong, a string. So here is the first change to the library in version 5. In the previous version, you would just return a value which was any JSON serializable value from the method, such as a string. In our case, we want to return the string pong, and the library would then take that return value and put it into the result part of the response message. But in the new version, you're returning a result, which is either success response or a error response. And I'll show you what that looks like. So obviously before it would look like just a string, but now you're putting your result into some context, which in this case we want to return a success response with the result of pong. So now we've written our method. I want to go ahead and dispatch a request to the method. So I'll quickly write a JSON-RPC request here, and we want to call the method ping with the ID of 1. We'll just use any ID. And here you can see we get a success response with the result of pong. The other two parts of the response message are just handled by the library, so you don't have to include those in your success response. So now let's write a method that returns an error. So again, we'll decorate a function with the method decorator, and we'll call it ping. But this time we want to take an argument. So we'll write a parameter called value and return a result. Here we want to check if the value is greater than 10, then we want to return an error. So here we're going to say if value is greater than 10. So in the previous version, you'd be raising an exception like invalid params here to return an error response. But I thought, why are we raising an exception to return a response? I thought that's a bit excessive. So in the new version, you're just returning an error. And the JSON-RPC error response has an error code, a message, and optionally a data part to it. So the error response code for invalid params is -32602, and that's a bit hard to remember, but I'll show you a shortcut in a minute. Then we want to use the message invalid params, and I will put some data in there which will be a bit more information about the error, and we'll say value must be less than or equal to 10. Now we want to also return a happy path. If the parameter is valid, then we want to return a success response. So we just say return success. You don't have to include a result in your success response. You just leave it empty and you'll get nil. So now let's dispatch a request again. This time though we need to include a param section because there's a param in this method. So we'll first pass 10, which should give us success. And you can see we got null here because we didn't pass any result. But now we'll try 11 and we should get an error. So as I mentioned before, the error code for invalid params is hard to remember, and because this is such a common error response, there is a shortcut in the library called invalid params. So I'll show you how it works. We'll write the method again. We'll write a method ping with a value param, and we return a result, and now we're going to return invalid params with just the data part here we include. So value must be less than or equal to 10. If value is greater than 10, else success. And then we'll try the dispatch. We get success, and we get the error. So invalid params is a shortcut to, it's like a wrapper around error really, which populates the error code and the message for you, and all you have to pass is the data part. So the next part of the library that's changed, you've already seen it actually, is that dispatch returns a JSON string rather than a response object. So let's write a quick method again. And we'll bring up our dispatching a request again, and you can see that we're now getting a string response. The only thing to mention about this is that if you dispatch a notification, which is a request without an ID indicating that we don't want a response, you should not respond. So Jsonrpcserver gives you an empty string for a notification to indicate that there is no response. It shouldn't send it. For some protocols like HTTP, obviously you have to give a response. Like every HTTP request must have a response. So you can send this empty string back. But other protocols like sockets and message queues, you have the choice of sending back or not. So if you get an empty string, don't send it back. And that will look something like, using modern Python, what's this called again? The walrus operator. And then you would say send response. So there's one final thing I want to mention, and that is that the dispatch function has an optional parameter called methods, which is where you can specify a collection of methods that you want to dispatch to. Sometimes you want to dispatch certain requests to this group of methods and other requests to a different group of methods. So the parameter looks like this. So in the previous version of the library, you would pass a methods object, which was an instance of a methods class that was inside the library. But I looked at it in version 5 and I thought, why did we write a class to simply hold a collection of methods when Python has perfectly good data types that can do that for us? So in version 5, the methods object is just a dictionary, and it's a mapping of function names to functions. So here we want a method called ping, and we want to respond with a success response. So here we've dispatched this request to this set of methods.